got our own row in the safari.
Thank you.
Lady.
Here in Harmony, good morning and welcome aboard Kilimanjaro Safaris. As we do get ready to head out into the reserve here, please make sure everybody is keeping their hands, arms, feet, and legs inside of the safari truck at all times, or remaining fully and completely seated throughout the duration of our journey. The terrain can get pretty bumpy out here. We are going to be surrounded by a lot of real life animals, so for everybody's safety, including the safety of the wildlife, please do make sure everybody remains seated at all times. No musical chairs, no hot potato, and definitely no lifting anybody up in the air as if they are Simba. This is not a live action remake of The Lion King, simply just the Broadway Wildlife Preserve. Now once we get the clearance from the warden to head on into the reserve, we're going to get started in what is called the Aturi Forest. Home to the reserve's more solitary and very reclusive wildlife, as well as others that typically use their coats as for our safety. Because when they hide behind thicker vegetation, the white stripes alongside of their body will act like sunlight or moonlight, reflecting off the items, giving a pretty good illusion to any danger or predators. They're not actually there. Their horns also sit a little bit further back on their skull rather than straight up and down. That's when they're lining through lower branches and very small items within the forest. Horns do not get caught in anything, causing them to become injured. Right hand side there, that is a greater kudu, one of the tallest residents here within the forest, seen about 60 inches from hoof to shoulder. Across the creek, though, we do have a pretty solitary and albino mom and their calf. They do only weigh about 3,000 pounds at full maturity, which makes them the smallest type of African rhino. Known for having more of a triangular and pointed-shaped mouth, that's due to a prehensile upper lip. All species rhinoceros, though, are very critically endangered creatures due to the horns on the very tip and top of their noses. When poachers began poaching for their horns, they believed it this incredibly rare substance that had a special healing or what are called medicinal powers on the inside. Turns out that those people were actually very wrong. Their horn is made up of keratin. This is we'll be transitioning down towards the Safi River next, which is home to the reserve's more aquatic type of animal. Of course, they even can see it deep within the water, as that is one of their most favorite places to be. But sometimes, and I mean sometimes, if we get a bit lucky, we might catch them out along the shore, like a few of the pink-backed pelicans. These large, kind of light gray-colored birds get their name pretty much from the pink patch of skin hides underneath their wings, along their spine and their back. Patch of skin will become more brighter and very vibrant throughout nesting season, almost as if they were blushing. Their wingspan will grow to be about 9 feet in length, which to give everybody a good reference of what that looks like, the benches you're sitting on from the left-hand side to the right-hand side, those are about 9.5 feet, so those wingspans are just a bit smaller. Breaking the surface, though, of the water here to our left-hand side. No, not a group of rocks in the water. That's actually just a float of Nile hippopotamus. Nile hippos are able to hold their breath fully submerged in the water for several minutes at a time. Hanging out in the water, though, during the daytime helps protect their sensitive skin. Now, hippos are nocturnal creatures, so they've actually just now gone to bed. During the nighttime, they can travel quite some distances away from their homes to search for any vegetation and food. Though despite traveling that longer ways away, they will always be able to find their way back. On land, they are considered a very territorial creature. They can actually outrun a human on foot. So please never challenge them to a foot race. I think it'd be a very good, successful idea. In fact, the word hippopotamus in Latin means river horse. Along the outskirts of the river area, I'll try to find somebody. But it looks like the water's dried up just a bit, so I'm going to say our luck might be a little bit out and about today. That's quite okay. We'll keep on heading up. Got a few more facts about those hippopotamus that we can talk about. But like I said, that word hippopotamus means river horse. A lot of the times we can find them walking and running from the very bottom of the river. They do have the capability to swim, but most of the time the hippos choose not to. They are basically the size of a small S large, very leafless. Kind of looks like the tree there was planted upside down. Well, this is a baobab tree, and it's actually very important to all the animals here on the savanna. Might not look like it, but on the ends of its very light gray bark are estimated to be tens of thousands of gallons of water that all the animals here on the savanna will have easy access to during warmer summer months, but especially throughout drought times as well. During those 2 periods of the year, water can be very hard to obtain for most animals throughout natural resources like watering holes, lakes, and rivers. So the baobab tree will step up and keep everybody nice and well hydrated. To our humanize a lot of the Santa is going to be a lot of this wide open terrain where we can see for miles and miles and miles. But to most of the animals here on the Santa, it is one large highway system where they can move and travel from one area to the next, searching for different resources such as food and water, maybe even near home as well. But of course, since we can see for miles and miles and miles here on the Santa, you can always probably see a lot of animals off in the distance. If you do see animals further off in the distance, that is quite okay. We're going to make our way a little bit closer to them, get a very good look. But a lot of these animals here within the Santa are going to live in very large groups called herds. Some, though, will have various herd and collection names, just like the hippos. We'll discuss when we do see those specific animals. Is kind of going to be hanging out near this den. It's not the bestest viewpoint. I did see just a small glimpse of where they are hanging out. So if we saw any sort of tan, black, and white colored fur laying along the grass here, it's the African painted dogs. But again, they are not in the bestest viewpoint, so I'll just keep on keeping on. African painted dogs are going to be considered one of the Savannah's most successful hunters, though. They can pretty much outrun their prey by well over 3 miles, or even complete exhaustion. They do have success rates better than pretty much any other predator.
Just hanging out. Don't bother begging.
On our left-hand side, we do have a herd of Anacolli cattle, and the first thing you might notice about the cows is quite these impressive horns on top of their head. Each of these horns is roughly about 36 inches in length, though each horn is extremely lightweight. There's a special honey-like cone structure on the inside that acts as their central AC system, helping pump blood to the top of their horns back down throughout the rest of their body, cooling and regulating their body down by several degrees. Left-hand side as well, we do have a group of Hartsman Mountain zebra. A group of zebras are referred to as a dazzle. They get this special collection name because once they start running in a very collective motion, their stripe pattern creates a little bit of a haze or a dazzle for human eyes, but as well as for predatory eyes as well. Those stripe patterns are unique to each individual zebra, just like our own human fingerprint. But within the first few days, weeks of birth, a zebra foal can imprint on their mama, revealing her unique stripe pattern to identify her in a very big group. On either side of the track, we do have a pair of eland. Male is here on our right-hand side. Female's a little bit further off in the distance on the left-hand side. Elands are one of the largest antelope found throughout the whole entire globe, standing about 6 feet from hoof to shoulder, weighing anywhere from about 1,600 to 1,900 pounds. But despite that, they are very good jumpers. They can jump 6 to 8 feet straight up into the air from a stand-still position. Elands are known for kind of these clicking or popping noises that come from their knees. Well, that actually just means that their tendons run along each other and creates that little bit of a popping noise. Natural instinct to help create boundaries with other
Happens when I walk too.
Easiest way to identify it between male and animals such as the zebras, the Anacolli cattle, and eland will act as the Savannah's lawnmower system. As they are migrating and moving throughout the Santa, they will work on making sure the grass doesn't become overgrown, eating some of the smaller vegetation, maybe some of the moss or vegetation that's fallen from trees high up. And other animals, such as our next one, the giraffe, will work on browsing the trees. They'll eat for about 19 to 21 hours a day, and due to how much food, very thick vegetation, foliage, moss, bark, fruit, giraffe are able to eat off the plants here on the Santa in nearly 1 day, has pretty much earned their nickname as the tree trimmers. To put that in just a bit more perspective, that it can be about 70 pounds of leaves, hay, grass, moss, bark, fruit these gentle giants can consume in 1 day. It of course helps that they are one of the world's tallest residents as well. They'll stand about 15 to 20 feet tall. Newborn calf are already 6 feet at birth. Those calves can all stand, walk, and run within the first hour of their life. This is quite the natural instinct that most prey will have to help protect them against any sort of danger that could arise.
We're not taking that home.
Besides, giraffe are known for having more of a rough, jagged edge to their spots, like little torn pieces of paper, leaves, or puzzle pieces. Other type of giraffe will have very crisp and well-rounded edges to their spot, but no matter what, the giraffe are all one of the world's tallest residents. There is a ton of destruction within this portion of the savanna. That's a very good indicator to me that something large, but something also incredibly strong, has been here recently. And it looks like the answer is going to pay off, because here on our right-hand side, we do have an African elephant. African elephants are known as one of the savanna's bulldozers. They can easily kick down trees, wrap their trunks around them, break them right in half to expose a lot of the food and the nutrients on the inside. Make sure again we are remaining fully and completely seated for me, please. On our left-hand side, got a bit of movement from each troop or group of mantro monkeys. That is a couple of the females there, as they only weigh about 20 pounds. Males are about 90 to 100 pounds, so a lot larger in size. The mantros are one of the largest and most colorful type of monkey found throughout the whole entire world. Known for some bright colorations all throughout the coats, but the ones we're going to kind of focus about are all along the bridge of their nose and their cheekbone area. That coloration will become more brighter and very vibrant just as they get excited. Almost like our cheeks will turn red as a tomato when we are blushing. On the inside of an elephant's very large ears are a ton of different blood vessels that when they do flop them back and forth will help to cool and regulate their body down by several degrees. African elephants are animals called a pachyderm. This means they do have very thick skin. Throughout some portions of their body, it is only about 2 inches deep. They can get very sensitive from time to time, so to help protect it, elephants will be seen picking up sand and dirt into their trunk, tossing along their back, neck, top of their head to act as a natural sunscreen and moisturizer. People are aware of one of the very main dangers that could face elephants within the wild, and that's due to poaching for their ivory tusks. However, there is another major human-elephant conflict, and this stems from the dangerous mining practices of metallic ore called coltan. Now, coltan is used to control electronic devices such as radios, tablets, e-readers, laptops, cameras, smartwatches, and of course your cell phones. Currently, though, any of the mining practices for coltan do result in quite a large habitat loss. Pretty much takes the elephants' homes away from them. What us as humans can do is very easy and super duper simple. Instead of just tossing these devices in the trash, completely forgetting about them, we should be going out and recycling them. Why? Well, the coltan on the inside, it pretty much never goes bad, typically rarely ever expires. So by constantly reusing it, this will hopefully decrease the demand for the mining within the wild, hopes to give elephants of all shapes and sizes quite the better fight for survival.
Yeah, we just ruin everything, don't we?
Larger groups of African elephants are most likely called a matriarchal society, which is a group of females led by one of the oldest and one of the most wisest females, known as the matriarch. She is put in charge of this herd because she is pretty much the best memory within the group. Can take them to good old watering holes and other stomping grounds. Males, though, once they do reach full maturity, are going to go off and form their own herd called a bachelor troop. They can also remain very solitary and on their own. Females will live with their mamas, their sisters, their aunts, their grandmas, maybe their great-grandmas, throughout pretty much their whole entire lives. Now that is a fully grown bull or male African elephant there along the left-hand side. It's about 14,000 pounds, 14 feet tall. On their own little private island here to the left-hand side, looks like that group or what is called a flamboyance of greater flamingos. Now, the greater flamingos are considered the lightest color of pink flamingo because when they hatch from their eggs, their feathers are dark gray. They get this pale pink hue as they get older due to the amount of brine shrimp that they consume. It's a very tiny shrimp that has mineral protein on the inside called beta-carotene. Beta-carotene is pretty much what helps their feathers turn pink from the inside out. Now, this process, though, is not instantaneous. It is going to take quite some time to complete, on average about a year to a year and a half. We made our way a little bit deeper on into the wide open plains of the African savanna, which is home to some other pretty famous species. But I could have the exact same characteristics as the animals back in the interior forest. They like to come up the hills, behind trees, and other thicker foliage, so we'll keep our eyes out. Looks like here to our right-hand side, we do have a bit of movement from a couple of white rhino. White rhino They're about 5,000 to 6,000 pounds at full maturity, so the larger out of the two, known for having more of a wide brim, square-shaped mouth. Very social and friendly animals, as they're going to live in a herd called a crash. Originally, though, the white rhino, they were called the white rhino. White is an Afghan's word spelled W-I-T. Unfortunately, they'll be able to misheard and misheard that Afghan's word for white, and that's how they got their names. Today, darker tree right there, there is a cheetah lounging behind that tree. Cheetahs do have about 2,000 spots along their coats that help them blend into trees, brush, and shade very, very easily, which allows them to become great masters of camouflage. Quite the advantage for the cheetahs in the wild, considering they're a daytime predatory hunter. Typically, yes, large predators will be seen hunting throughout the nighttime, but cheetahs, to avoid this certain level of competition and skill, typically do hunt during the daytime. Helps the cheetahs, they can run almost 60 miles an hour in just about 3 seconds. They are able to run this fast with what is known as their non-retractable claws. This does mean the cheetah's claws are out all the time, 24/7, helps them dig into the ground, have just a bit better traction and agility. They might not have the best, they might not be able to maintain that top speed for too long, only a few hundred meters, before they drop down to about 40 to 45 miles an hour and continue their journey. In addition to their camouflage speed and agility, another thing that helps the cheetahs hunt during the daytime is a pair of teardrop marks. Basically, these stripes that run from the very bottom of their eyelid on the side of their snout. These stripes will look and act as athletes' eye block to absorb any and all sunlight, that way their eyes don't get damaged or strained. The competition and skill that each cheetah is most likely going to want to avoid is in fact a pride of lions. Lions will sleep and rest about 16 to 20 hours a day to build up all their energy and their stamina, so whenever they are ready to go hunting throughout the nighttime, they are able to stay completely nice and well rested. The lioness or female lions are the main hunters in different prides and pairs. Males basically stay back in the habitat, as they will keep a pretty watchful eye on their homes, the rest of their pride, to make sure nothing or nobody becomes endangered. Roar is something they are most known for, and this roar can be heard almost 5 miles away. It's easily one of the main ways they will try to mark their territory from other prides and bears. But a real live lion's roar is not the exact same thing we'll hear or think of from the very beginning of blockbuster films. That's actually a tiger's roar over a lion's face. When filmmakers were establishing this opening, they decided a lion's roar. See what I mean? The sound of that roar was not cool at all. It was a little bit too sad in comparison to a tiger's roar. So this whole entire time, they've been pulling your leg. That's not as loud as that roar is going to get, as this is a very young pride of lions. So they're still working on finding their spark, but still it is a very magnificent thing to hear. As a male lion does get older, establish a bit more dominance throughout the pride. That mane along his face can grow to be about 40 pounds of fur, reddish brown, dark brown, or jet black in color. Really just does depend on how it grows in. Of course, we can't have a pride of lions without their bestest friends, the warthogs. Warthogs will take pre-existing burrows and enlarge them and fit their body shape and size. Living within these burrows helps protect them from any natural elements, such as the weather, as well as predatory elements as well. They're known for having 2 sets of tusks. One is for burrowing and eating, the other is simply for defending themselves. Female warthogs are about 150 pounds. Males are 2 times the size at about 300 pounds. As we move ahead, as they do make their way towards the edge of the Santa, looks like there is going to be at least one ostrich. Now, ostriches are going to be one of the world's largest birds. They'll stand about 6.5 to 9 feet tall, about 300 pounds or so. They do have wings on the side of their body, but these wings are not used for flying, simply used for a bit of balance and guidance while they run. They do run about 43 miles an hour, so these wings help them from not tumbling on over. They do produce a pretty large egg. Each of those eggs weighs about 3 pounds, basically the same weight as 2 dozen chicken eggs. But together those eggs are so incredibly strong that a fully grown ostrich, a fully grown human, can stand up on top of those eggs, rotate them around, and they will not crack under the pressure. of the savannah, making our way straight for Magadi Glen, which is where all the wardens are stationed. The wardens are going to be here to keep a watchful eye on us, the animals, make sure nothing or nobody becomes endangered. But the warden is going to be kept nice and well accompanied by a herd of Nigerian dwarf goats. The Nigerian dwarf goats are a very small dairy goat from Western Africa, as they only grow to be about 3 feet tall. Despite their smaller size, they do play a pretty large and quite the important role, keeping the symbiotic, what is known as the mutual relationship between animals and humans. The milk they produce is very, very rich in nutrients. It's super sweet tasting for a lot of us. Local farmers and villagers will gather this milk up, dispense it through neighboring towns and other areas, while in return, that to keep them incredibly nice, but also very, very well protected. Just as we can see the wardens doing today. Throughout the Happy Wildlife Reserve, Disney's Animal Kingdom, and the rest of the Walt Disney World Resort, one of our main goals is to help protect and serve the animals here on property, those in the wild, with what is known as the Disney Conservation Fund. It's used for a lot of things like rehabilitation of sick and injured animals, back out to their natural living habitats, conservation education about critically endangered and near-threatened species of animals, habitat cleanups, and of course the reduce of human interference. Now, one way you can contribute helping protect these animals within our own everyday lives is by simply reducing, reusing, and recycling things such as paper, plastic, aluminum, and those electronic devices too. Making sure that any and all these recyclable materials will end up in the correct disposable areas and not out into the wild, where it can be very, very harmful to the animals that live there. Also, CNC do have the perfect opportunity to be these animals' largest supporters and pretty much any of their greatest advocates. Unfortunately for us folks, we've made our way right back towards the outskirts of the Harambe village, which does mean our journey will be rapidly coming to a close. So please do check those rows around you from the floorboards to the benches. Make sure you have all your personal belongings you brought on board with you. Keys, wallets, cell phones, hats, sunglasses, purses, magic bands, mini ears, as well as everybody. I do not want you to leave anything or anybody behind, as an incredibly long trek back to Africa if you happen to do so. Here in Harambe though folks, we do not like to say goodbye. It is far too sad and way too final. What we will say instead is Kwahrini. Kwahrini means to go well and to go wild. So Kwahrini everyone, hope you get to see a favorite animal out there. Maybe to learn something new you might not have known before.